Silverwars.org is a very interesting website that dives deep into the military's involvement with silver backdating to the mid-1960s. It's a timeline briefing the numerous events that have led us to where we are now, with the U.S. National Department of Defense no longer documenting or even acknowledging silver. There's been claims urging the government to use the silver for military instead of solar panels, because whoever has the most silver can make the most amount of missiles, rockets, nukes, drones, torpedoes, satellites, bullets, and many other military weapons. So yes, he who owns the gold makes the rules, but more importantly, he who has the silver wins the war. Alright folks, this is going to be an incredible video breaking down an incredible website called silverwars.org, exposing injustices plaguing the silver market. They are dedicated to uncovering silver market manipulation and malfeasance by the United States Treasury and Department of Defense threatening national security. So, we will be going over some of the data, we'll be going over this timeline, and hopefully this will put a little bit of the puzzle together, the silver puzzle at least, because yes, the silver rabbit hole runs very, very deep. Before we jump into this, I did want to mention, I post daily silver videos. So if you stack silver and you want to be updated on a daily basis with what's happening with the price, economic events, geopolitics, maybe the FOMC meetings and how that's affecting the price of silver, anything in between, then make sure you click subscribe. The first important piece of information, data, that we will be looking at is the United States of America National Defense Silver Stockpile. You can see in 1967, it was at a little more than 160 million ounces, and then it was flat from 1969 all the way to 1985, and then just fell off a cliff to 2001, just about 18 million ounces, give or take. Now, we have the Department of Defense silver stockpile from 1972 all the way to 1995. You can see around 9 million ounces in 1972, fell off a cliff. And by the way, we're going to go over why this data just stops at 1995 as well. Pay attention to that. And now we can go over the American Silver Eagle Bullion program from 1986, only around 5 million ounces, and these numbers were very low until around 2008, which just skyrocketed. Instead of just 5 or 10 million ounces, we're talking about 30, 35, 40, 45 million ounces annually. We had to start outsourcing. It was a lot easier and more cost effective. But we ended up shooting ourselves in the foot because now we're reliant on, say, Sunshine Mint to get the silver planchets instead of making them in-house. But that means when we are having trouble sourcing the silver, we can't make the Eagles, which is why you saw in 2020 they ran out of silver, had to make the emergency 1 million mintage supply from the San Francisco Mint, leading to the cancellation of the 2022 Morgan and silver piece dollars to try to keep up with Eagles, going up against Congress, being non-compliant to meet demand, yada, yada, yada. Regardless, that's that situation of where we are now with the numbers. You can go into the Royal Canadian Mint silver bullion, amount of ounces sold. You can see 1988, very, very low numbers, but then we skyrocket around same time the Eagles do as well, 2008, up to 15 million ounces. We get up to even 35 plus in 2014, which that was almost the same as the American Eagle Bullion program. So right now in 2024, we're sitting at around 25 million, the same as the Eagles as well. So now let's go into the time frame. This will be a bit of a history lesson starting on July 22nd, 1965, mentioning why the US Mint stopped creating our own Eagles in-house. So, the Coinage Act of 1965, quote by Lyndon B. Johnson, in the face of this worldwide shortage of silver and our rapidly growing need for coins, the only really prudent course was to reduce our dependence upon silver for making our coins. aka started outsourcing. If we had not done so, we would have risked chronic coin shortages in the very near future. Coinage Act 1965. Now, all of you know these changes are necessary for a very simple reason. Silver is a scarce material. Our uses of silver are growing as our population and our economy grows. The hard fact that is silver consumption is now more than double new silver production each year. So in the face of this worldwide shortage of silver and our rapidly growing need for coins, the only really prudent course was to reduce our dependence upon silver for making our coins. Now you have 1968. The National Security Agency, U.S. Department of Defense, the NSA's Silver Recovery Program is created. You can see right here, NSA responded to U.S. silver shortage in the 1960s by starting the NSA Silver Recovery Program to reclaim silver from scrap and waste, and that's in 1968. Now, we have June 25th, 1968. Same year, 165 million troy ounces of silver from the U.S. Treasury to the DLA. National Stockpile becomes Defense National Stockpile Center. This is important stuff right here. This is the meat and potatoes. This is the backstory that puts all of the information that's happening nowadays into play. And it's the correlation between what's happening with the massive silver shortage and what's happening with our military right now in today's time. This is the whole story about it. United States Treasury Department, Washington, D.C., transfer of silver to DLA strategic and critical stockpiles. The Treasury Department executed the transfer of 165 million troy ounces of silver to the strategic and critical stockpile under the management of the DLA. This transfer, mandated by the Strategic and Critical Materials Stockpiling Act, signifies a significant milestone in ensuring national preparedness and security. The silver sourced from Treasury reserves was meticulously allocated to bolster the nation's critical material reserves. In compliance with the Act, which traces its origins back to legislation passed in 1939, the Treasury Department coordinated closely with the General Services Administration to facilitate seamless transfer of resources. This move underscores the government's proactive approach to safeguarding essential materials vital for national defense and strategic purposes. Now, here's where things get sticky. You know how we're talking about it, everything's, it's nothing's too out of the ordinary, right? They're trying to get their hands on as much silver as possible and for obvious reasons. But here's where things start to go south. 1972. U.S. Geological Survey Minerals Yearbook, the salient silver statistics. 8.9 million ounces of silver at the DoD. Quote, U.S. Defense Department stocks totaled 8.9 million ounces. This marks the first instance of when the Bureau of Mines disclosed the silver stock numbers by the Department of Defense. Now pay attention to that. February 16, 1985, Naval Surface Warfare Center warns of impending silver shortages if batteries aren't upgraded. Naval Surface Warfare Center, electrochemistry branch. Quote, the power source needs new brilliant weapons that will have to be satisfied by new battery technology. In addition to stricter requirements, many of the materials currently used in batteries, such as silver, zirconium, nickel, etc., will have to be replaced in future batteries because of critical shortages. And that's predicted if current use patterns persist. Now we go into 1995. Remember when I was mentioning pay attention? Now check this out. 1995, U.S. Geological Survey, Minerals Yearbook, the salient silver statistics. This marks the last time the U.S. Geological Survey, Bureau of Mines reports silver stocks numbers by the DoD. In 1995, the DoD silver stock dwindled down to 13 metric tons, and by 1996, the DoD silver stock was listed as NA, not available. Now remember, up here, we had the U.S. Geological Survey Minerals Yearbook, salient silver statistics, and then in 1995, they stopped reporting it. And that's why up here, you see in 1995, that's the end of data. That's the end of the data, because they stopped reporting. We don't know how much they have. That's why it ends right there. And that's why earlier I said pay attention to the year 1995. Now you're starting to see how things get a little sketchy, and it only gets worse from here. National Defense Silver Stockpile goes to zero. 2002, U.S. Geological Survey Minerals Yearbook, the salient silver statistics. This marks the last time the U.S. Geological Survey Bureau of Mines reports the number of silver ounces in the National Defense Stockpile. The National Defense Stockpile goes to zero. No reports on defense silver stocks have been released since this report in 2002. Now we can go up here and look in 2002 right here as well. So we have the Defense Department stopped being reported in 1995, and our National Defense Silver Stockpile stopped being reported in 2002. So you can see how slowly everything went offline, and we just don't mention how much silver we have anymore. And that's very concerning, since we know, one, we know how rampant demand is getting. We don't document military and aerospace, which uses a lot more silver than solar, which is the #1 sector alone. And if we're talking about massive silver shortages without even regarding or taking note of military and aerospace, just solar and EVs alone, if we're talking about 500 million ounces in the red, what do you think the real numbers are, including this information? Remember how much silver is used in military. Support of American Silver Eagle Bullion Program Act is introduced. Congressional Record, Senate, June 11th, 2002. Other silver mining states. It is my hope that the Senate will move expeditiously to consider and pass this legislation before stockpile is deleted. Now, this is actually very interesting. This is when someone was urging them, actually, I'm going to try to find the actual, someone urges them to focus on silver for military other than solar panels. And there's actually a few different instances. I don't think it's actually in this, timeline. It's actually in another one that John Forrest Little actually also mentioned. I could probably pull it up. But here we have this one, June 11th, 2002. U.S. Senate addresses concerns regarding the imminent depletion of the U.S. government's silver stockpile as highlighted in congressional record. Senators Crapo and Reed introduced the Support of the American Silver Bullion Program Act in response to these concerns, aiming to preserve the American Silver Eagle Bullion Program. Then you have June 23rd, 2002. So only a few days later, only a few weeks later, you have it got passed, right? The bill got passed. Public Law 107-201, 107th Congress. 4. With the depletion of silver reserves in the Defense Logistic Agency's strategic and critical materials stockpile, it is necessary for the Department of the Treasury to acquire silver from other sources in order to preserve the American Silver Eagle Bullion Program. And that's why you see 2002 was the last date as well. And that actually makes a lot of sense. So now we have 2005, 3 years later, U.S. federal authorities arrest Christopher Tappan for trying to sell 50 Eagle Pitcher silver zinc oxide batteries to Iran. I'm not going to go too much into this. I mean, I'm sure this has a lot to do with like the military's involvement, but I'll just skip over that. You guys can check it out. So now we have June 2016, the DoD Silver East Waste Recycling Procurement Program under pressure as requisitions increase. According to DLA officials, requisitions for silver have increased since the end of the fiscal year in 2015, raising some concerns about how long the program will be able to provide this precious metal. United States Government Accountability Office report to congressional committees, DoD Electronic Waste. According to Defense Logistics Agency officials, requisitions for silver have increased since the end of the year, raising concerns about how long the program will be able to provide this precious metal. Now we have silver scarcity impact in the U.S. Navy, and that's the procurement program from 21 to 2022. Department of Defense fiscal year budget in 2022 estimates Navy Sonobuoy procurement, quote, as of FY21. Unit cost increases as a result of silver shortage as the Defense Logistic Agency, or the DLA, Precious Metal Recovery Program. Historically, the program procurement silver through the DLA is a variant at $3.97 per ounce. In FY21, the DLA surplus was exhausted due to silver scarcity. Program is procuring silver at the market rate of $30 per ounce. Program is pursuing mitigation strategies with vendors to replace silver requirement with the lithium battery for incorporation into the Bullion FY24. So now you have March 23, silver shortage impacting the U.S. Navy submarine acoustic warfare system. So it's just going over how the silver shortage is impacting so much military, is impacting the military sector now to such a high degree. And now it makes a lot of sense why the U.S. Defense Department raided our silver stockpiles last year. It makes a lot more sense now. And, you actually should probably hope that they are able to continue to get silver, because as soon as another country hears that we aren't making as many missiles or we can't put up as many satellites or drones or any of that, then that puts us at a huge disadvantage. So then you have April 20th, 2023, Kami Plattner blows the whistle on the Department of Defense silver shortage. She came out and that's crazy. Eagle picture reveals national security of USA in jeopardy. Kami Plattner blows the whistle on the DoD's silver shortage. Eagle Picture, the leading manufacturer of batteries crucial for missile and space applications, admit to a significant supply shortage of silver within the United States. They disclose that acquiring silver from alternative sources has become notably difficult due to its diminishing availability. Where did the silver come from that was mined for use in those batteries? We do have some local silver miners initially. Yeah, it wasn't prevalent, but we did have some. Of course, we had to outsource most of that for quite a while. But we do have some history. Just wasn't as prevalent as lead and zinc. I'm being honest, I'm not sure all sources right now, but silver is very hard to come by right now. It is very much a diminishing supply, so it is a growing concern on how much longer that is going to be available. Sources are limited. I know, just in general, we've had supply chain issues since the pandemic, and we're still talking about it. People are really trying to ramp up production, but in getting that sourced has been pretty difficult in terms of any silver, so it's a diminishing resource that has to be looked at, but I don't know where else we got it, to be specific, and that's interesting. It's not what she's saying, or it's more of what she's not saying, or how confused she is of where we got it from, because we are outsourcing it. So you can see why this is all very important stuff, and you can see why this is such an important video that I hope you share with anyone, your friend, anyone who's curious about this type of information, about the shortage or the military's involvement in it. And I do think that everyone should take a look at this. There's also something else I'm probably going to show in another video. This is John Forrest Little, the guy that created this website that showed all that data, interviewing Greg Manorino, mentioning central bankers steal all the wealth, but silver says otherwise. Now, they actually go into military spending, comparing it to other federal spending priorities over time. They go into a lot of stuff, U.S. spending on the war in Ukraine. So if you guys want to check that out, I was probably going to react to some of this just in a video. I was going to do it in this video, but this video is already very long, so I'm not going to, but you guys can check that out as well. So yeah, anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Remember, folks, make sure you subscribe, like the video, leave a comment down below. It helps the video. Thank you if you've been watching till the end. That also helps a lot. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I will see you guys later today. Peace.